Yeah, WOBL and WDLW radio located in Oberlin. WOBL, of course, just celebrated 50 years on Christmas Eve, and WDLW will be celebrating, well, they celebrated 20 years of us having it, but it will be Cool Cat Oldies' 20th anniversary next year. The first year of the station, we ran it as Spanish programming. So for 1 year, we were Spanish, and then we flipped the switch and went to old time rock and roll. So that will be celebrated next year. So 107.7 FM and 1320 AM is Gold Country, and 98.9 FM and 1380 AM, as you can see there at the bottom, is Cool Cat Oldies. So thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure having you, Gary. I want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to join us. The whole idea behind this podcast is to focus on leaders in Lorraine County, people that have stepped up to show leadership in Lorraine County. And you're definitely one of those persons. And we just love the fact that you've agreed to appear on our podcast today. So with that being said, you own a radio station.
Yeah.
What did you do before you owned a radio station?
Yeah, so it was a pretty long journey in life to get here. Right out of high school, I went to school very briefly, and then got into the union for my father. My father was a big union guy. He was a Teamsters Local 436, and we did highway construction. So I was did some highway construction for about 10 years. And just one morning got out of it. And, well, I guess not that easy, but I saw an ad, actually, believe it or not, for the Ohio Center for Broadcasting, which is now known as the Ohio Media School. And just said, hey, I could do that, I think. So I left highway construction. I went to the school, got enrolled in the school, lost my house, got my car repoed, and moved back in with my parents, and I was off and running in broadcasting. So that is how that story went, and that is the absolute truth. When you go from making, the union paid pretty good back then, so which they do still to this day, but when you go from making that kind of money to I am now a full-time student. It was give it all up. It wasn't the media school. Unfortunately, at that time, they did not have a part-time way to kind of ease into it. It was kind of all or nothing. So it was 8 hours a day, 3 days a week. So I went from being a union laborer out of local 860 in Cleveland to being a full-time student working at Blockbuster on Cleveland Street in Elyria. Yeah.
So it's, the roadblocks and the disruptions that come in life, even when you make what you deem as being the right decision, the pressures and the difficult times force you into a situation that makes you a better and stronger person, right? I mean,
so they do. And all that adversity, I had obviously a vehicle for the first, couple months of school. Well, I couldn't afford it. They came and got it. So now I lived in Elyria, grew up in Elyria, and now I had to worry about getting to Valley City 3 days a week. So I had to make that happen somehow. I did. And not just me, obviously a huge support system with my parents, family members, friends, saying, hey man, we think you're born to do this and born to be in radio. And that, just always came from always kind of being the funny guy, I guess, in the family, and the jokester and the prankster type mentality. But the first day that I sat in that radio class at Ohio Center for Broadcasting, and I'll never forget it, my instructor was Jim Zemansky. If you know that name, he was a Cleveland radio. He was also big on Big Chuck and Little John and WGAR. And Jim Zemansky was my instructor. and we got to do a acceptance speech. That was one of our first projects, and it was, if you ever made it in this business, what was your acceptance speech? And it was, you had to sit there and think about it and think, will I ever make it in this business? It's a tough one. There's this business is not for everybody, not a monetary type business. It is something that you do because you love it. It's a grind. It's rewarding. It's that type of thing. Now, don't get me wrong. You obviously get paid and you can drive a car home now. So you had to make this speech, and I made my speech, and from that day, I knew that day that radio, and not just radio, local radio is where I wanted to be. I never had the big dreams of being some shock jock or any of that type of stuff. It all started kind of here at OBL with my internship. So this is the first type of radio that I knew, and that made it a very easy transition.
So here's a possibly a difficult question for you. How did you position yourself to follow the Wilbur family as owners of this Keystone business in Lorraine County?
Core values, just keeping what we're all about. Harry Wilbur, 50 years ago, if you ever hear our first broadcast, which is on our website, Harry talks about that we will do everything for the better of this community. And we've never forgotten that. That has been, Doug Wilbur carried that on for 41 years. His wife, Lori, who joined him about 20 years ago, carried those on. And they taught me that from day one that I walked in here as an intern. It has always been about the community and using our platform here to try to better the community. So I've kept that. I think I think if you just keep what you've always done in life and treat people right, it's been a very easy transition in that way. We pride ourselves on doing business with smaller mom and pop type stores, smaller local businesses. I'm not saying that we don't do business with big markets or anything like that, but obviously a smaller business, we try to give everybody a chance to be a part of our station. So I think just keeping the roots. We didn't steer off the road. We got a new car. We put a new coat of wax on it a little bit, but it's still the same car. It's just shined up a little bit.
Okay, so though you talked a little bit about the core values of the business. Do those core values fit into your personal core values as well?
They do. I think it just goes back to the such a simple one: treat people the way you want to be treated. We've ran the business that way. I think I live life that way every day. I never judge. I'm not a judgmental person. Anybody I meet, I think I can have a conversation with them, whether it's about life or everyday stuff. So those values I try to bring into our business. When I sit down and talk to people, I think one of the biggest things that we fail in as people is we don't listen. We love to talk and let people hear us, but sometimes we fail to just sit back and open our ears. And I think you find out a lot more about people when you do that. So that is one of the things that I've really tried to work on in life as a business owner and just as a person is just listen once in a while. And a lot of times what someone's trying to tell you, it's right in front of you and you just didn't take time to listen. So yeah, I think all those things I put into my everyday life, I put into my business life. I'm not saying I'm good at them. My wife will be the first to tell you that I'm not a great listener, but I try. I I try not to make the same mistake and put my hand on the same stove every day. But life's every day is a lesson. I believe I try to take it that way. For me though, I'm on borrowed time anyways. The opportunity that I have here was a blessing. I got given something that I didn't deserve probably. I had a time in life where I struggled heavy with different things. Probably wasn't the best husband or the best son or the best brother, but I never treated people wrong, no matter what. And any of my battles in my life, I never did people wrong. And I think I'm probably being rewarded for that a little bit now in life with my opportunity here.
You talked. You said you're learning to listen, which is kind of funny coming from a DJ, because you're doing most of the talking when
Yeah.
you're sitting inside the studio. I know you've mentioned to me before about people that call in and say thanks and say, hey, this is what you've done to support me. So these are examples of you listening. And I don't know if you want to share a story or two about that.
Sure.
People calling in and thanking you.
Yeah, I will, and I'll do my best. I am a big guy with a beard, but I'm a teddy bear, man. So I'll do all I can to get through that without getting choked up. But I think a lot of times in this business we forget, or in any situation, maybe I guess is you forget that just being kind to somebody, saying thank you, holding a door. These little things in life that we just all take for granted sometimes, how far it can really go in someone's day. So there's one story, a couple stories that just kind of touch you. We had a gentleman call in years ago. We used to do a thing called the backyard barbecue, and we would go to your house and we would bring a grill and we would cook out in your backyard and play music and just hang out and party with your family, you and 20 of your friends and family. And it was just a cool promotion. It always was fun. And back then I was doing it with a guy named Jeff Vietzen. And Vietz is how most people know him. And Vietz did the morning show over here on WOBL for about 20 years. And then he would spend some time on Cool Cat. But he was the best. He was he mentored me. He was a friend. He was like a father figure, and he knew how to treat people right, and he was really good at his craft. I truly believe that Beats could have been on any major station in the world, but he didn't because of here, because it was local and the way people treated him here. So long story short, we Beats and I go out. We do this backyard barbecue at a guy's house. With him and his family, and going on close to 20 years later, the gentleman was at his deathbed, imminent. He's going to pass away, and he told his son to make sure that he reaches out to us and let him know that the day that he spent with Gary and Vietz was one of the best days of his life. And I mean, wow. It's like this guy is getting ready to check out, right? And leave this world. And he thought it was important to let these two radio guys from Lorraine County know that the day we spent with him was one of the best days of his life. And you get these kind of stories, and it's just humbling. It's I don't know that there are other jobs that hit you with those kind of rewards. The other ones you get several times when you're out in the public and someone just comes up and says, "Hey, I listen to your stations and thank you for what you guys do. You put a smile on my face every day, whether it's a song that we may play or we just revealed our total for Second Harvest holiday cheer, little things like that. Those are all the reasons that I wanted to be a part of this and keep this legacy of WOBL going for another 50 years.
So I took a note as you were saying that, and pretty much the time place, so that I have a note here. It says, but what I came up with is based on that comment or that story is we really never know how we are impacting people, right? We never really know. I take a look at your business. I take a look at the radio, and you're an on-air personality. You're delivering messages. You're giving thanks. You're, like you said, with the Second Harvest. You really never know who you're impacting. I mean, what do you? How does that motivate you? The fact that you don't know who you're impacting. I mean, I think that's a very important leadership characteristic. You don't know who you're impacting. So how does that affect you? How does that help you process and prepare and all of that?
But I think all of it just comes down to doing it right every day, not straying from the course. There's a couple things, and I'll talk about it on here, but there's a couple things that you will never hear us talk about on the radio. Politics and religion. There's a reason there. You will upset half of your audience instantly, because those are a couple things that people just, it's very tough to agree on, right? There's two parts to it, or one person may be this religion to another one. So those are things that we kind of stay away from. I've been asked that, how come we don't ever endorse different political things or talk about it? There's no need to. There's that you can get that anywhere in the world. Local radio, it's feel good radio, right? That's what this thing was about. Not knowing who you're impacting goes back to doing it the right way in the same way every day. So when you answer that phone and that lady says, "Can I hear a song?" or that lady says, "Can you give me the address or the phone number to a sponsor?" It's treating them the same way that you want to be treated. I don't know that person. I don't know where they're calling from. I don't know their lifestyle. I don't know anything about them, but I know they're a listener. So I know if they're calling our radio station, they support us. So I treat them with kindness. I treat them the same. I don't veer from the way I talk from one person to the other. You'll never hear me change my mannerisms. I just talk to everybody the same, because that's how I want to be treated. I guess I hope that answers the question. And I instruct my people, my work staff, to do the same. If you're ever rude to a listener, that listener will tell 50 people. If you're kind to them, they may tell nobody. So rudeness will get you 50 negatives. Kindness will get you one win. And I'm okay with that. I'll take one win over 50 negatives any day.
Right. So what life lessons have you learned from your career path?
A lot. I guess my career path has been, like I said, I left when I left radio, or I'm sorry, when I left the union and went into school. I graduated. Obviously, I came here to WOBL as an intern with Jeff Feetson.
How old?
At that time, I would have been right about 27. So about 18 years ago, Jeff Feetson and Doug Wilbur took me under their wing. It was a funny story about Cool Cat Oldies. When I graduated, I actually got a gig doing some radio up in Canada, and went up there. Very brief. They thought, my accent was going to be cool and I was going to be funny, and it's not so funny, not cool at all. So I was back very soon. The day that I walked in back here, I went into Doug Wilbur's office, and he says, "Hey, great news! Our afternoon guy on Cool Cat Oldies was let go this morning, and you could have the job, but there's a major problem. I can't afford to pay you." And I said, "I'll take it. Sounds great." So here I was graduated back in Elyria. Um, I now have a show. I'm 2 to 6 Monday through Friday, but I don't have a car because I after school still had not gotten one. That was on the horizon, so I rode an LCT Transit from Elyria to Oberlin when I could not find a ride for 3 hours a day to come do a 4 hour radio show, a free radio show. So about a month and a half into that, I obtained a car, and I started going out and just talking to businesses. Just anywhere I saw, man. If they had a sign, I stopped in there. And I said, "Hey, I could talk about you on the radio. You pay me this, and I'll tell everybody to shop here." And I learned that from Jeff Vietzen. Jeff Vietzen would have a folder on his morning show, and that's where I learned was with Vietz. The shower and shave show with Shannon and Vietz is what I was on as an intern. And Vietzen had a folder, and in this folder was just all of these live people that he endorsed. And it was Jack Mattia Honda and Custom Gutter and the roofing. He had a roofing place that and just the list went on and on. There's 8 of them, and he had to endorse every one of these individuals in a 4 hour show. And he never had a script. Nothing ever said, "Hey, read this." He pulled out this piece of paper, and it had all these talking points about a company, and he winged it. He went from the heart, and you got done, and it made you want to shop there. They were the greatest spots and commercials you ever heard in your life because they were just true. And he found a way to do this through his whole show, and I learned so much from him, and how he taught me the radio side, how to be a true person on the radio. So that's what I did. I went out and said, "Hey, I could talk about you, and I'm the guy talking about you." And I obtained some sponsors, and finally Doug Wilbur called me in, and he says, "Hey, why don't you join the sales staff? You're out promoting yourself." So I joined the sales staff, and kind of took off from there. My first year, I was in the Sellers Hall of Fame for most sales by a part-time salesperson, and it really just it all clicked, man. Just really took flight. And then I guess about 4 years in, I got checked out a little bit. I got sometimes you don't appreciate. I think when you're younger in life, you don't appreciate how good something is, or you think it could be better somewhere else. Or so I had some struggles going on, some personal stuff, and I checked out of radio, and I left for a while, and it took me 14 years to get back here. And there were several days. If you've ever read Radio Inc. magazine did an article on me. If you ever read that article, boy, it really tells it. I mean, there were days where I went, man, I'll never get another chance. I'll never get to be kind to somebody on the radio again, or I'll never get to make somebody's day with a song again. So I went to work for the U-Haul company. A good job, not it paid the bills and all those things. And then I went to work for Wendell Brown and Mike Abraham over at Nick Abraham Auto Mall, and probably one of the funnest jobs I've ever had, being in car sales. It's a rewarding one. I think that's another one. It's rewarding. The hours are terrible. I think that's the first thing every car salesperson will ever tell you. But another rewarding job to see someone pick up their car for the first time. But one of the things that I did there that I think has really carried over with me here, treated everybody the same. Whether you were buying $1,000 car or an $85,000 car, I treated you the same. You got the exact same treatment. So that was kind of the career path. And then I got a chance to somehow, some way, I left car sales, and thank you to them. I mean, Wendell Brown and Mike Abraham are two huge mentors in my life. I mean, they taught me just about business, about almost raw business of, how to treat people and how not to treat people. And it's resonated with me. They were good dudes to work for, and they're friends to this day. I just talked to Wendell this morning, as a matter of fact. He's been the general manager at Abraham Buick for 30 something years. So they know how to treat people, right? You don't stay in business that long. And they're obviously a huge partner here with us at WOBL and WDLW. And I think that says a lot about our relationship.
Yeah. So here's what I'm hearing, just a quick snippet from going from Veets to the Abraham story. Mm-hmm. You go from the heart, right? So Veets doesn't write copy. Here, I want to talk about this company. He's going from the heart, right?
Yeah.
When you sat down, I bet you that people that came to you to buy a car loved you because you were talking from the heart. You weren't doing a hard sell on them, right?
Yeah.
And
I didn't know how.
Pardon me?
I didn't know how.
Right. You didn't know because that's not what you learned, right?
Yeah.
So, that's a great life lesson. I mean, that's the huge thing to take away is that, do it from the heart, be real, right?
Yeah.
Be real.
Fake will show through. As whether a car salesperson or an on-air personality, if you fake it, people will know at some point, right? I mean, you can, when you open this microphone, when you listen to our on-air personalities, you should be able to see them smile through a microphone. You know whether they're having a good day or a bad day just based on tone. And same thing was in the car business. If you sat down, and acted like you knew something more than you didn't, or you get a question. People love to ask you a question as a car salesman, and usually it's a question that they know the answer to. They're testing you. They want to find out how honest are you. The biggest thing that I would say is you could never fake an answer. Well, I don't know. I'll ask for you though. And God, I probably said that more than I said anything in the car business. Just because I think once you get caught telling them something that's inaccurate, you've tarnished the relationship. You have 2 to 3 minutes with somebody, which is your first impression, for them to know that they're going to make $1,000, $30,000 to $50,000 decision with you. It's a big deal. So how good is your first impression, right? It's the only thing you don't get a second chance at. There's no going back once you've ruined it. It's not like selling a house. When you're my realtor, you get probably several opportunities to maybe, make an impression for me. But as a car salesman, it's a right now kind of sale. You know what you want, but I think all of that just carries over to again, I'll say it a million times, just being a good person. I'll be the first to admit, I don't go to church every Sunday. It doesn't mean I don't believe. I just don't stop by the house every Sunday. But I don't fault anyone who does. I also don't fault anybody who doesn't. It's not my place to. So I associate myself with good people, people who treat people right, I surround myself with those types of people, and I think all those people help me be who I am.
How would you define success?
I think there's several ways, right? I think some people define it in the size of your house. I think some people define it in the car you drive. To me, success is not monetary. It can be if that's your choice. Um, Success for me is how many people you bring along with you. How many do you help along the way? 15 years ago, I would consider myself successful. Um, Today, I consider myself successful in a couple different ways. I just got to go on the air and say thank you to all of our listeners for helping raise $94,000 for people who needed meals for the holidays. That's success, right? It's not all
Absolutely.
created by Gary, but it's created by being part of the network, the success network, right? Being around good people, associating yourself with good people. So success to me is, do you go home every night and lay your head down and know that what you did today was the right thing? Do you wake up the next day and want more? And do you bring people along with you? Getting to the top's a lonely place. Why do you want to get there by yourself? That comes from a business partner of mine. He's very good to me. And I asked him one time, I said, Eric, I just got to ask, why do you help me in the ways you do? And he said, you're a good person. So what good would it do for me to get to the top and realize that I'm all alone and I don't have anyone to share it with? So I try to bring people with me. I'm never going to be, I'm never going to have a house in Beverly Hills. My wife and I don't live in a mansion. We don't drive fancy cars. But I don't care. As far as I'm concerned, I'm the most successful guy in Lorraine County. I mean, that's in my eyes, right? I get to impact somebody's life every day, whether it's with a song, whether it's a business that advertises with us, and somebody walks in and says, "I heard your ad on the radio." Those are all parts of success for me. But at the same time, I like to know that there's a few dollars in the bank if I want to have a steak dinner, but it's not all about that. I think it's people looking up to you, whether it's a nephew, a niece. We had one of the Brookside classes in, and they asked some questions that were, it just made you feel successful. It made you feel like you were doing the right things. That's success to me. Waking up each day wanting more, never settling for what you did yesterday is good enough. I think you should be hungry to want better every day. I think if you wake up and you don't go, I want to be better today than I was yesterday, then what's the point of waking up? I don't, there's really not much good to it. And if you don't want to be the best at your craft, I don't know why you have a craft. I don't remember my mom ever dropping me off to baseball and saying, "Go be mediocre today." It was always about trying to be the best at what you do, but being humble about it and being, appreciating it, I guess, and knowing that I'm not where I'm at without hundreds of people, without their help. Gary Tollett didn't create WOBL or WDLW or all these little things that they were all created by other people. I just get a chance to lead them now. Harry Wilbur, you want to talk about a leader and a success story. I mean, he came here with hopes and dreams to build this radio station. And I say that as I look out the window because I just found the original plans the other day, the blueprints for this radio station from 1968. And the engineering company that Harry used in 1968, we still use to this day. Munn Reese, they're out of Coldwater, Michigan. My wife and I just sent them a check the other day for some things they did. So, you see stories like that. Those are successful people. Um, I'm just trying to get in where I fit in, man, and follow that. Keep those traditions alive.
How would you describe your leadership style?
Mad Magazine. There isn't one. My leadership style is very loose. Probably a little too loose at times. Um, I will tell you why. I've had bosses that were, oh gosh, they just beat on you. Just I never understood how you beat an employee up and then uh, give him a pat on the back and say, "Now go do this." I don't want to go do anything. I want to punch you is what I want to do for yelling and screaming. So I don't do that. I don't scream. I take that back if my people see this. I will once in a while raise my voice, I guess, if needed. Um, my leadership style is if somebody does something wrong, I let them know what they did wrong, but then I sit down and I try to fix it with them. I don't beat people up. I don't believe in that. I don't. This goes from just how I've always been treated through my years of employment. Um, I have a little Wendell Brown in me. I talk about Wendell a lot because he's a good mentor to me. But Wendell could give you the best butt chewing you've ever had in your life, and he never raised his voice. And you walked away and you went, "God, I just got my butt reamed," but he didn't even realize it. He was just he was very good at teaching you a lesson without being a jerk about it. I guess is the best way to say it. So I try to carry that over. Um, I lead. I don't want to say I even lead by example. I just do what I do, and I hope they see the good in it, and I hope they follow that. So, lead by example, I think is a very BS term sometimes. In this reason, people say you have to lead by example. Well, I think that's true when you're talking about 7 and 8 year olds. I don't think it's true when you're talking about 35-year-old people and adults. Those adults should be their own example. They don't need a 45-year-old adult to be the example for them. They don't need me to tell them if they should shave before a meeting. If they don't want to shave, don't shave. I don't care. I do care that you go to that meeting and you give people all the options of why you're there to help them. Those are the things I care about. I don't care if you wear a pair of jeans. If that's what you're comfortable in and you think you're okay to go into that meeting like that without offending someone, have at it. So when people always say you have to lead by example, I think that's true to a certain point, but I don't have to lead by example for a bunch of grown adults. Grown adults should be their own example. So that's kind of how we do it here. I don't. Everybody has a job. They know what their job is. I don't care if you're here for 12 hours a day or 2, as long as you do your job and have fun. Come in, do your work, have fun, and go home to your family. Because without that, you're not going to enjoy this job. If you're never home to enjoy your family or your home life, you're not going to like it here. There's no balance. You're never going to be able to check those problems at the door and come in here and do what you're supposed to do. So that's how I lead. It's very loose. I don't when I interview people, I probably catch them very off guard because I will ask some of the most off the wall questions you've ever heard, and only for one reason. Anybody could come in and interview and follow the script. Interviews are scripted. They're the most BS ways to get a job. Everybody knows what to say in an interview, right? Well, what's one strength you have? Oh, I love to show up on time for work. I love to be there 15 minutes early. What's one downfall? Oh, I dedicate myself too much to work. Oh, come on, man. You found those on Google. So I don't do those types of interviews. I don't. I sit down with someone and I just talk. I don't ask them about work. I just talk about life, and I try to find out if they're a good person and somebody I want to be around. And then I ask them what they know about sales or what they know about radio. And if they know a little bit and they seem like a good person and somebody I might go have a beer with, then I'll hire them. If they don't, then we're probably not a good match. We're probably not gonna mesh too well together. So those are kind of, that's how I lead. I don't rule with an iron fist. That's for sure.
Okay. So it sounds like you say you don't lead by example, but it sounds like you encourage them to be the best person that they could possibly be.
I want them to be them. Right? We don't need 15 Garys running around the station. We need a Gary, a Nikki, a Dave, a Lou, a Renee, a Jean, a Michelle, right? I need them to be them. And I just need them to do what they think are the right things. I don't need them to call me and ask me, should they do this? Just do it. Just do it. Listen, as long as it's not going to burn this radio station to the ground or get us in trouble with the FCC or cost us tens of thousands of dollars, be an adult, put on big boy pants or big girl pants and make a decision. And if it's wrong, then we'll deal with it then. But I would much rather my employees make a decision on their own based on their professional opinion. That's what I pay them for. That's what they get a check for on the 15th and 30th of every month is to be them, to make their decisions, do what's best for their customers, which are all WOBL customers. I don't step in on any of that unless I'm asked to.
So let me jump in here because you've got you're saying a lot of great things. A lot of times I deal with my clients and I always tell them, if you hire the right person, you don't have to rule with an iron fist. If you hire the right person, they're going to be the best version of them. If you hire the right person, they're going to have their plan for personal growth in place. And what you have to do is you have to work with them. You have to encourage them. You have to empower them, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So a lot of the employees at the radio station you inherited. Is that accurate?
Everyone except for one. I have brought one.
So you've hired one person since you've been there.
Yeah.
Yet it sounds like the right people were hired. And was that accurate before you got there? You agree that they're the right people and you're managing them accordingly.
100%. But I also got to play undercover boss. So for 9 months, I knew that I was going to be the next owner of this station, which allowed me to see them all in this atmosphere. And there was one day that really convinced me that, yes, I will be the next owner. The current owners at that time, or the previous owners, Doug and Lori, were going out of town for a few days. And I got to see this place operate without the bosses in town. And it never missed a beat. Everybody still showed up. Everybody still did their job. The music still played. The commercials still played. The deposit still got made. The check still came in. Nothing changed. And I'll never forget. I went home that night to Renee, and I said, "We got our staff. We don't have to change anybody." And it's just worked. It's worked 100%. We brought in a new salesperson, Dave Rivera, who's also one of our sports guys, but he was here before me. He's been here for 4 years working on the sports crew. We just brought him in on the sales side as a full-time employee finally. So even that, all we did was kind of promote him. Lou Brzee, who's our general sales manager, she's been a salesperson here for 5 years. Well, when I took over March 1st of last year, she went from being a $10,000 a month salesperson to $22,000 a month. You're a sales manager. Here you go. Right? I mean, they did it on their own. It's not, none of it's because of Gary and Renee Tollett. It's all because they want what's best for this radio station, and they appreciate me. They appreciate what Renee and I do, just like they appreciated Doug and Lori. They worked hard for them. So I think when you have that appreciation of your staff, you don't have to rule with an iron fist.
Okay, so I'm going to give you we've talked about success. We've talked about defining success. We've talked about your leadership style. We've talked about, how the fact that you have a great team in place.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's take a look at another side. How would you define failure? And the reason why I asked this question is because a lot of people don't like to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't understand they still don't understand the definition of success. So they don't realize that failure is part of life. And
Yeah.
I've never seen a kid their first time up at T-ball hit the ball over the fence, right?
Sure.
You're not going to be perfect the first time, right? So failure is part of life. Define failure.
Me 10 years ago, 15 years ago, right? I was there, and you're right. Failure happens every day. I fail at something every day, whether it's being on time to a meeting. If I'm 5 minutes late, then I failed, right? I had a time to be there. I wasn't there. That maybe I just failed to be the best husband that day. Maybe I didn't say the right things to my wife. Maybe I failed to be the best boss. But failure to me is inspiration. When you fail, it should inspire you to do better. To me. So when I fail, I kind of take those. I think you reflect on them during the day. Sometimes you fail and maybe it takes you a week to even realize, I really botched this up or failed at this particular thing. But for me, when I fail at something, I think it's just an inspiration. It makes you want to make sure you do it right the next time and don't let it happen again. But that's easier said than done a lot of times too. I think you can get caught failing at the same things a lot sometimes. But it's because you were afraid to try to do it a different way. I'm stubborn. I want to prove that I can fix it my way, but the reality is I can't. I need a better way, but I haven't broken down my stubborn walls yet to find out what the better way is. So eventually, I think you probably do that. I think failure, a lot of times too, is what we talked about earlier of just failing to listen to somebody about something. If I failed to listen to my staff here, we would be out of business. Their input, their knowledge, what they know about this business as professionals is what helps keep these doors open. Failure for me happens every day. I've failed at a million things in life, but you're only a failure if you stay there, right? Failing is one thing. Being a failure are two different things. If a failure stays there and they accept it. Failing at something, you get up and you dust off and you try again. So I guess those are my definitions. Hopefully that clears it up a little bit.
Yeah, I like that. So what do they say in the radio business? Our backs up against it, right? So
sure. Yeah.
So here's here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna, I'm gonna give commercial for Brian here for
Yeah.
in a second, and then I'm also gonna do your commercial. And then what I want you to do is I want you to close us out with some parting thoughts. So I'm going to give you some time here to talk about parting thoughts, right?
Okay.
Something deep. So what I'm going to do is I want to point out BCT alarms, Brian Jankowski, 877-215-0763. It's a new way for security. You want video cameras around your house. You want garage door openers. You want to be able to lock and make sure that your house is locked from an application on your phone. The technology in home security has risen, and Brian is somebody that can help you out. Also, I love the fact that I'm partnered up with the radio station WOBL AM 1320 and 107.7 FM. That's Gold Country, WDLW AM 1380 and 98.9 FM. That's the Cool Cat, what rock and roll oldies.
Yeah.
And this is my friend Gary Tollett. He and his wife Renee own the radio station, and you can stream WOBLradio.com or WDLWradio.com. And you can stream the radio shows as well, so you don't need to be sitting in your car to support this wonderful radio station. So, Gary's one of our 50 leaders of Lorain County. We really love the fact that he gave us some time today and talked about how he defines leadership. And now we're going to get something sage, wonderful, and deep from Gary. Gary, what are your parting thoughts?
Yeah, first, Bob, obviously, thank you for having me. I appreciate it, man, and I hopefully I didn't ramble too much. I get a little juiced up when I start talking about radio and what this place does. But obviously, thank you to our listeners at WOBL 50 years, and I guess my parting thoughts on all of it is, do something that's good for the soul. This building, this when you walk in here, this place will change you. These walls, we have a montage of all these different radio personalities who started at WOBL and WDLW. The big names in Cleveland, voice of the Cavs, you name it, right? But they all started here. And this place here for me is just good for the soul. And I think you have to find something in life that does that for you. Maybe it's not work. Maybe it's your charity work. Maybe it's what you do on the side. For me, it's here. It's local grassroots radio. I've said it a million times. I'll never be a millionaire owning WOBL and WDLW, and that's okay. I go home every night. I lay my head down. Okay, I'm good with that, because I know that at some point today, whether it was through a song played on the radio stations that I own, whether somebody walked into an advertiser and said, "I heard your ad," whether it's somebody eating a meal at Second Harvest Food Bank with money that we donated, whatever it is, I help somebody somewhere, somehow today with this platform of local radio. So I think for me, it's you're never too important to help the next person. And the biggest, don't forget where you came from. I came from blue collar, man, as blue collar as it gets. My parents were not rich by any means. I lost my father about 6 years ago, back in December, and there was a time there where I wondered if, when I lost my dad, was he proud of me? So I use this platform and what I do to kind of work on that. So just to make sure that the people that helped you get to where you are proud of what you're doing, or proud of who you become in life. So if you could do that and achieve that, then you're as rich as you want to be.
Well, Gary, thank you for being part of the podcast today. You know, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate the fact that you and Renee took that leap of faith, that step forward to go out and carry on the tradition of WOBL, WDLW. All of us here in Lorain County, thank you for that. And you know, I'm very proud to call you a friend and to say that I'm engaged with WOBL, WDLW. You know, I support those the advertisers, and you're doing a great job for Lorain County, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you, Bob. I appreciate it, man. Have a good day.
Thanks.